the achievement of the intellect. Someone recently gave me advice about giving this commencement speech. Think of yourself as the body at an Irish wake. They need you in order to have the party, but nobody expects you to say very much. I also realize that the only obstacle between you and your degree is, well, me, that in about 20 minutes. So I'll get on with it. I wish someone had told me how to dance with life at your age. I have a few decades to look back on, so we'll share some of the wisdom that I've learned. You may not be looking forward, you are already on Pluto, because I'm going to give you a tool chest with 9 tools in it as a graduation gift. You can't buy them at a hardware store or a Home Depot, but they may prove to be more useful than real tools. This tool chest contains the kind that fit a variety of life situations and surprises. Here's a paradox. The more you use these tools, the sharper, not duller, they become. The less you use them, the more they corrode and disintegrate. What I want to share is wisdom I gleaned mostly the hard way, that is, through experience, because life is what happens to us when we're making other plans. Henry David Thoreau, America's premier 19th century transcendentalist writer, concluded his great essay, Walden, with a story that involves a strong and beautiful bug which came out of the leaf of an old table of apple tree wood. It had stood in a farmer's kitchen for 60 years and had come from an egg deposited in the living tree many years earlier still, as appeared by counting the annual layers beyond it. The farmer heard the bug gnawing out for several weeks, hatched by chance from the heat of an old, warm urn. It's a metaphor for resurrection and immortality. Thoreau's parable also means this. Ideas embedded early on may take many, many years to hatch, but first they must be placed deep within you to germinate. I hope what I impart may be a bug egg of use to you someday when you journey through life. The choice is yours, which leads me to your first tool, your attitude. And I repeat, it's a choice. It's probably one of the few choices you will ever have any control over. The great psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, an Austrian Jew, was writing a book that he hoped would set the world on fire like Freud had done with his theory, and he dreamed of making his mark on the new science of psychology. One night he heard the fatal knock at his door and found Nazi brown shirts outside. He had little time to stuff his manuscript in the lining of his coat, which the Nazi thugs dragged from him and his family to certain death. They forced him to discard his book anyway. He labored several years in Dachau and Auschwitz, but he stayed focused on 2 goals: eventually being reunited with his wife and family, most of whom the Nazis murdered, and completing his book. He spent many nights after exhausting labor reconstructing it on bits of stolen paper, but even those were lost. However, he noticed something odd and wondrous over the many months. Physically stronger men than he succumbed to diseases like typhus and pneumonia, or died of exhaustion, hunger, and hard labor. He, however, endured, even when he caught typhoid fever. He finally figured out the secret to his survival. He had a fierce passion to be reunited with his family, though tragically his wife, mother, father, and brother were all killed, and rewrite his book in light of his experience of suffering. His profound but simple discovery was this: he who has a why to live can bear with almost any how. In other words, humans can survive any how so long as they have a why. And therein is my point. Frankl believed one of the few choices we have is the choice of our attitude. Though he was imprisoned, he was a free man. So our ultimate freedom is the choice of our attitude. Pain and loss are inevitable in the human condition. None of us is going to get an exemption. But I do have a choice to grow strong from adversity. I am bigger and stronger than any blow life deals. I welcome the opportunity to grow and accept them with gratitude, even when they lash like a twig across an open eye. For example, the deaths within 10 months of my brother and my father, both of heart attacks, of my mother's death when my sister found that she had ovarian cancer. I would not have chosen those personal tragedies, but I did choose not to give up, and I grew stronger from them. Viktor Frankl believed that without suffering, human life cannot be complete. A sense of gratitude. Gratitude takes us outside of ourselves. If in any situation I can find the speck of gold in the dross, I know I am in gratitude. At night, I try to think of 5 things that happened that day that I feel grateful for. Like the roof over my head, a full cupboard of food, a reliable 36 years in the only community college to win a Malcolm Baldrige, one of the highest awards given in the USA. And most especially to have known, befriended, and taught thousands of wonderful students like you over the years. Gratitude is directly linked to humility, the third tool. Humility is being right-sized. It's the willingness to be teachable, and trust me here, you have a lot more to learn. Humility is a people magnet because you don't pose a threat to others. Humble people have the capacity to laugh at themselves. One of my most embarrassing moments occurred when I was a rookie teacher and not very confident. I sat down on a desk that collapsed beneath me and fell to the floor. The students stared, wide-eyed and flabbergasted. I said, "I'll flunk any of you who don't laugh right now." The class exploded and ended up being one of the best that I ever taught. Humility confers dignity and grace on us to take intelligent spiritual action to solve our problems. Spirituality, that's your 4th tool. It's the one that will be bright and shining if you've been paying attention to it. If you cannot embrace a power higher than yourself, I'm afraid you're going to be in for a rough ride. If you use this tool with humility, belief in that power will not be a problem. German Chancellor Bismarck said, "The best we can do is listen to the rustle of God's mantle through history and try to catch the hint of it for a few steps." Don't be afraid to test out and question your faith, graduates. The opposite of faith is not doubt, it's certainty. Bertrand Russell believed that the trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of doubt. Make your spiritual investments now, because in the future, when pain, loss, and fear show up to foreclose on your serenity, you will have capital to withdraw and make a down payment to ensure that you get through those times. Like a good IRA, keep making those spiritual deposits. Let them earn interest, and someday they're going to pay dividends down the road when you need them. The only commencement address tidbit that I remember came from a Catholic priest when I graduated from high school. He said our intellectual capacity will be growing exponentially in the coming years, but if our spirituality does not keep pace, our lives will be seriously out of balance, off the beam. And you will encounter times in your life when you will find yourself in the crosshairs. It may not be people who put you there pointing back. It may be phenomena like hurricanes that take out great cities, or tsunamis that crash onto shore with terrifying ferocity, or planes that fall out of the sky, or volcanoes that belch up scorching magma. Courage is the 5th tool. When you walk through heartbreak or fearsome valleys, courage is an essential tool. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the taking of action in spite of fear. Fear is future events appearing real. My fear tells me there's something for me to learn and pay attention to on the road ahead. My deceased mother's voice comes back to me often when I am living in the belly of fear. She says, "Stop the pity party. This too shall pass. And tough times don't last. You will have to outlast them, and you can do that." General George Patton told his troops, "Courage is hanging on to fear a few minutes longer." It may take you longer than a few minutes, like a few months or even a few years. Viktor Frankl had to endure 3 years in concentration camps under horrific conditions. But don't leave before the miracle. If you choose an attitude